Welcome, Derek Shulman, to We Will Rock You.
My pleasure, and it's nice to be here and to speak to you.
Thank you very much. This is a really, really exciting thing for me as a Gentle Giant fan, that these albums are finally coming to a digital release. Why did it take so
long?
long?
For us too, they were a long time in coming out anyway in the first place, and we had them released in a limited level on a physical, CDs, but now they never were put out through the digital world, which is becoming obviously very important. And now, we're excited by it too, and then we have some more product, if you like, or music, which will come out both in a CD version and digitally next year that has never been heard, which is going to be interesting for us too, as well as the fans and people who remember our old group from way back.
Now, why has it taken as long as it has to get these to the digital format?
Essentially, the music was it belonged to EMI for a long period of time, and they never they never made it to even the CD version. The music, the 7 titles or 7 or 8 titles, reverted back to the group about 4 years ago, and it was a decision. I don't think the digital area was as important for anyone as it is now, and I think we just withheld it and said let's wait and see how the CDs do and see if there's any interest in the group at all. Maybe people don't even know who the band is and don't care, but apparently people still do remember the group, and so when we're revamping, we're remastering the albums from the original master tapes, and at the same time we said, well, let's make it, put them up digitally, because maybe someone who can't afford perhaps the whole album, hopefully they can, but would like to hear or sample something which is Gentle Giant they never heard before. And anyway, you go on to these digital platforms, maybe it'll turn on people to our music that they wouldn't even been involved in anymore, because obviously CDs and records and people walking in stores are seeing album titles, and it's almost non-existent. So
right,
in a digital world, it'll make it, hopefully get fans who would never have been exposed to this music before.
Excellent. Now, how did you choose which titles to release now?
Well, we don't have any choice. I mean, the titles that reverted back to the group were the Capitol years.
Oh, okay.
Which were the albums from basically In a Glass House. Actually, it was one after that, Power and the Glory, till The Missing Piece. In a Glass House we already had, because way back when In a Glass House was made, Columbia, which became Sony, thought it too uncommercial to even release. So that record was never even released here in this country ever. Until the group put it out a couple of years ago, but because they thought at that time that it had such uncommercial possibilities that it wasn't worth releasing. In fact, actually, it became one of the biggest sellers through imports, selling quite a few 100,000 units, which is kind of interesting. But but anyway, it was really what the titles that are coming out right now are from the Capitol years when the deal was when the deal became due 25 years after. They reverted to the group.
Oh, okay. Now, what kind of challenges were there in working with the old source tapes and updating them in new versions? Because, of course, I interviewed Gary Green a number of years ago for a book project, and he was talking about how rudimentary, in some ways, the recording process was back then. Did you find that the source tapes were in decent shape?
Well, apparently they're in very good shape. It was interesting. It's interesting to hear. I've got In a Glass House interesting to hear sonically what we did then and what can be done now. And it is, in a lot of ways, it's actually very refreshing because there's no loud button, if you like. There's no compression. I mean, hardly any compression. It's very as you play it. With the only keyboard the electronic keyboard that we used was a Mini Moog, and this is all done on tape, as you know. And there was no Pro Tools or any digital form of doing anything. I think the music is pretty pure, and for that reason, it's actually fun to listen to.
Yeah, the little bit I've heard, they sent a link, with the press release. The little bit I've heard sounds phenomenally clean, really, really good.
Well, yeah, there's a lot. That's what I'm saying. It's interesting to hear the cleanliness and the clarity because we didn't use too much reverb or anything else. But again, this is all instruments played and separated the way we did it. I don't know how to explain it, but certainly it's certainly different to recording a lot of ways that the people record today. It's all played and sent to magnetic tape,
right?
Which has elements of warmth to it anyway, and has elements of probably a little more reality, if you like, because the curves of music and how it's recorded are not as square as a digital file, if you like.
Right. Now, in listening to some of this music again, like I have been sort of getting ready for this interview, it strikes me that this is a band that, of course, was known for instrumental complexity, but the vocal side of it, as it pertains to you particularly, these are really, really challenging melodies. They're not the easiest melodies in the easiest meters to sing. What kind of special challenges did that present for you as a singer?
Oh, quite a lot, actually. You're right. Well, the vocals and the music itself, and this is probably either the good news, bad news, if you like, and to our detriment and perhaps hopefully our compliment, is that the vocals were always, for the most part of the instrumentation. They weren't essentially a vocal line on top of chords. They were part of a whole package, as a composition. So, vocally, we had to learn an instrumental part. So it was challenging, but challenge is fun. It was a fun thing to be able to pull it off, both on record, of course, and live as well, because they weren't, as I said, they weren't just vocal lines like a pop song, going over a bunch of chords. It was part of the whole piece of music, and this is the way we composed our music. It was pretty structured. So but it's any kind of challenge, whether it's a vocal challenge or musical challenge playing on instruments. They're fun to do because unless you're afraid of challenges. This is something we enjoyed. We challenge each other. Excuse me. I think in our writing and playing to get better for each other. And so it was fun as opposed to being nerve-wracking.
Right. Now, do you feel that maybe the complexities of that played against you commercially as compared to, say, Gentle Giant gets put in that box with the LP, Tull, yes, whatever, but those bands had more of what you would call a straight melody sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course it did. In fact, in some yes, in some respects, when we're bagged into this kind of progressive, I guess, music world, I'm not a good person to certainly bag out what Gentle Giant was, but we didn't, as I explained to you, the vocal melodies and the complexities of what was written were not a standard format of what a song generally is. they're much more orchestral, if you like, because Kerry has a degree in composition from the Royal Academy. Ray was a classically trained musician. You know, I'm Ray's brother, so my background is fairly musical, and we wrote our music with for the most part parts, as opposed to as opposed to just on a you know, over a chordal pattern and putting a song line on top. It was part of a whole, you know, compositional package.
Right.
Yeah, it did in the respect that did it impact our potential commercially? Probably.